last story takes us out to Fort Klamath. Once a frontier military outpost in the time of the American Civil War, the site of old Fort Klamath now serves as a museum for educating folks about regional history. And it's a perfect backdrop for the Cascade Civil War Society to put on this fantastic living history reenactment.
All right, I'm one of the founding members of the Cascade Civil War Society, which we say shortly by CCWS. What you're about to see is a step back in time to the 1860s here at Fort Klamath. Now, Fort Klamath was established at the height of the Civil War in 1863, so it is considered a Civil War era fort. It was here until 1889, if memory serves me correct, when they closed it down.
This little spot is where the original guardhouse, we're pretty much on the same place that the original one was. Various Great Basin native bands, tribes were coming into conflict with the settlers. And so he wanted troops down here. Started out, well, they surveyed the site in 1862. And in 1863, they started building it. 2 companies of Oregon Volunteer Cavalry brought in a sawmill from Crescent City, California. I guess that would have been the most usable port from here, and put it on Fort Creek, started sawing lumber.
We are an organization that studies the past. We like to bring it to people, and we're always looking forward to doing events like this. Now, I think the first person you'd like to talk to is probably our surgeon, Dan.
I'm Dan Foster, representing United States Army Medical Corps as a captain in the Medical Corps. The most common weapons used during that time, which were .58 caliber, and fired a very large hunk of lead like that does a lot of very serious damage to the human body, and it just literally destroys large pieces of bone. So we really had no option except to do a lot of amputations. Amputation was a primary function of a surgeon, particularly in the field. The first instrument I would use would be this large Liston amputation knife, developed by a British surgeon by the name of Liston, who found he could do quicker amputations with a straight-bladed knife rather than the circular or sickle-shaped ones prior to that. Would cut through the flesh to the bone all the way around the limb above the damage. Would retract it with a cloth retractor similar to this one. Okay. Then use the capital saw for the large bones of the arms and legs. Would cut completely through the bone, sever it, throw away the damaged part. I would have Liston bone forceps like these to trim the ends of the bone. I want to make it as smooth and splinter-free as possible, because then I'm going to pull that flesh down over the stump of the bone into a pad and put it together. I could use then a couple of different methods. I could use the more traditional method of thin wire sutures and sew it, or by the 1850s we had a brand new invention called adhesive plasters. Some scientists in 1845 developed a process where they dissolved rubber in a solution of benzene and toluene, made a sticky substance they put on strips of cloth. The first bandage tape then was readily available by the Civil War. And this became our preferred method rather than the stitching, because it's quicker, it's easier, it's less invasive. I'm not going to be poking holes with a great big needle, which could cause avenues for more infections that I didn't know how to treat anyways. This was before electricity. Surgeries were performed in an outdoor setting like this. In fact, I'd be very fortunate to have this table and this awning. It could be under candlelight, lantern light, firelight. Surgeon might have been smoking a cigar while he's doing the surgery.
Is it hot wearing this black overcoat? You're in all black right now.
Just about, yeah. No, actually, to be considered properly dressed, at least you had to have the vest on, and you could have it unbuttoned all the way except for the last button. And if you unbutton that, you were considered indecent. Okay, let me take you over to the blacksmith now.
Okay.
I'm actually showing off a 100-year-old old bellows that was restored here by a friend of mine many years ago, and he found this in an old barn. And so I bring it here because this would have been the actual forge that would have been at this fort.
And this is able to generate enough heat to be able to melt metal, or at least get it to a point of flexibility?
No, melt it. If I would stand here and pump this thing and talk to you long enough, I would pick up a piece that would be a stub. It would just melt it, because that's like 3,000 degrees in there. And what you do when you're blacksmithing, you don't use the hammer. If you notice, my left hand is going backwards. My right hand is just going up and down. And that's a skill you've got to learn when you're doing this, because you normally will just want to move your hammer back and forth. And you're not to move your hammer back and forth. You move your steel back and forth, and your hand is the right hand or the left, whatever is your hammer hand, is the hand that's doing the job of just pounding. So your left hand is the one that's creating what you're wanting to work on. Okay, now.
That sure does get it red hot. That's incredible.
Yes, it does.
Okay, well, I am spinning flax, and this flax was grown in Oregon in the Willamette Valley. I am making string.
Okay.
String can be used as a survival tool. Every culture, I don't care what your heritage is, has a tradition of twining or making fiber. If you can make a string, you can make a snare, a trap, a fishing line. You can tie your stuff together, and haul it from place to place. So I have a drop spindle here. Oh, goody. This I was able to purchase. I believe it was legal. This is little teeny piece of clay. Is from 400 AD from Teotihuacan in Mexico. Originally, people were doing things like this, or just by hand. The spinning wheel didn't become common until about 1300, so it's a new invention, whereas people have been spinning for tens of thousands of years. So here's my spindle. There's the bobbin right there. It's just that the wheel turns it for me. And another thing it does is it also pulls the fiber in. So whereas with this, I have to stop and wind it on manually, this does it.
I am here representing the Mount Mazama Mountain Men group, which I am a member of. Down here is a whole group of the odds and ends that I teach about when I am working with folks who want to hear about what the mountain men did. If you're going to live out in the boons, you better be able to put up a fire there to roast up your meat and to warm up when things are cold. And so, again, the mountain man would purchase from the blacksmith at a previous town a chunk of metal that is high carbon, probably typically made back then out of the furriers, that's the horseshoers, rasps that were worn down. And the blacksmith could then heat those up, take the temper out of them, where they could then mold and work with it. And yet they're still high carbon if they were careful about the way they handled their blacksmithing product. And they would make these. And if you have a piece of flint, which is kind of hard to come by out here in Oregon, but there are other little rocks that seem to work, and you take and see the sparks?
We're going out to where we've set up our cannons, the artillery field, to fire the cannons generally. We do charge a fee, and we make $2-3 off of it. Mm-hmm. Gunpowder has gotten terribly expensive, and it is something else. Can I have the cannon crew over?
I'm William.
I'm George. I'm Michael.
Matthew.
And I'm Lieutenant Bowling Ball.
All right, Lieutenant Bowling Ball?
Bowling Ball.
Lieutenant Bowling Ball.
That is the 3-inch ordnance rifle. It's a rifle because it had rifling down it. It was extremely accurate. Out to a mile or a mile and a half, you could hit about anything you wanted to shoot at. Generally take 7 or 8 man crew, 4 up on the gun, 1 carrying powder, and 2 at the limber to select and prepare the rounds for firing.
This is a friction primer, and this is what sets off the charge. And what you want to do, on the order to prime, you'll hold it right so, and you come up and you'll stick it right in the vent hole. Mm-hmm. And when you put this in, do not put your finger over the top of this tube, because if it goes off, bad things happen.
Right.
So, and then you want to keep the string nice and tight. You want to hold it down by your hip, like so. And then I'll yell clear front, and the guys will step away, and then I'll yell fire, and you'll pull down to the left.
Okay.
Just like that.
Cool.
Advance the round. Other way. Turn around. There you go. Vent! Red, stop! Prick! Prime!
All right, so it's ready to fire?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right.
Right. Clear for right!
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and this is Us As We Are.
That works.
Nice. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for bringing us out here and introducing us to all these amazing people and sharing with us some of this incredible history. I think we all heard a lot of stories that we've never heard of before. So thank you so much for inviting us out
It's been my
here.
pleasure. Anybody wants to find out any more information, we're on the web at www.cascadecws.com. And I'll give this to you so you can have it. And it's been a pleasure having you out here, and I hope that the viewing public gets involved with this type of stuff, because it is our American history.
That's it for this episode. We'll see you next month. But before we leave you, we do have one quick favor to ask. Hey folks, Keegan Van Hook here. I just wanted to take a quick second to mention that it's funding from viewers like you that keeps documentary programs like Us As We Are on Southern Oregon PBS. So if you want to support local programming such as Us As We Are, or Southern Oregon Responds, Southern Oregon Experience, or some of the other amazing local content that we have going on the station right now, I really encourage you to offer your support. Consider scanning the QR code on your screen right now and to giving a donation, or go to sopbs.org/supportlocal. Whatever you want to donate, it's very appreciated and will ensure that we're able to stay out here in the field producing local content for you to enjoy for a long time to come. I'm Keegan Van Hook. This is Us As We Are, and thank you.